Yo, you in the market for a heat press? Let me try to help you out. What's happening, everybody? Boy Big Brando, and today we're going to be talking all about heat presses. Now, if you stumbled on my channel, you know everything on my channel is about the heat press. And I've made a lot of videos about this, but I understand that there are a lot of new viewers on my channel. So I wanted to revisit this again just to help some people out who are trying to get into the business now. Now, chances are if you found this video, it's because you looked up what's the best heat press to buy, what heat press is the best for t-shirts, what's the cheapest heat press to buy, or what heat press works with DTF transfers. I'm gonna try to help you out. I'm gonna give you my personal opinion on the heat presses that I use and why I choose to use these styles of heat presses, and also provide you with a little bit of information, but I'll give you some links so you could do your own research and check out all the specs for yourself. Don't go just based on what I'm talking about. I'm just gonna show you some of the features that I like, and if they speak to you, then do a little bit more research and see if these presses are right for you. So first things first is size doesn't matter. When I say size doesn't matter, a lot of people think because the press is bigger that it's going to be better. That's not the case. The bigger the press, the bigger the design that you could press onto the t-shirt. That's all. So just because a heat press like this is 16 by 20 doesn't make this press more superior than a 15 by 15. The only difference between this press and a 15 by 15 press is the size of the heating element, which directly affects the size of the design that you could press onto the t-shirt. So let's say you're not even planning on making any designs bigger than, let's say, 13 inches. A 16 by 20 might be overkill, and a 15 by 15 will do you just right. Now you're probably like, I'm planning on designing some big ass prints and big ass transfers and big ass designs, and that's cool. If that's the idea, then a 16 by 20 will be good for you. But if that's not the intention and you don't plan on doing anything bigger than, like I said, 13 inches across, you don't need all that extra space. Now you might be thinking, well, what if 2 years from now I actually want to design something a little bit bigger than 15 inches? Shouldn't I just go with the bigger press? So that way when I do bigger designs, I'll already be equipped for that. That's a really good thought. But at the same exact time, if you're not going to be doing that frequently and constantly, you don't have to go with the bigger press. The bigger press comes with a bigger price tag. It also comes with bigger real estate that it takes up on your table. So if you're going for the bigger press just because once in a blue moon you might do something bigger, you can still do it with your 15 by 15. You'll just do it in sections. Once again, 15 by 15, lower price tag, takes up less space in your workspace, and you can still do bigger prints than 15 inches. You just have to do it in sections. So remember, bigger heat press doesn't mean that it's a better heat press. It only allows you to lay down designs bigger than the standard 15 by 15 heat press. All right, here goes my Heat Press Nation Signature Pro heat press. This is a 15 by 15. 15 inches in width, 15 inches in length. Here's one of the biggest reasons why I use this press, and it's this slide out drawer right here. To my knowledge, Heat Press Nation was one of the first companies to ever offer this slide out drawer. Now, why is this even important? Traditional clamshell heat presses, the bottom platen doesn't move. So you're working directly under the heat. So if you had to lay a t-shirt down under here and then lay the transfer down, you're working directly under the heat, potentially burning your knuckles. And I've done it a ton of times on some of my first presses when I first started getting into this business. This slide out drawer allows you to lay the t-shirt down nice and straight. And also you're not working directly under the heat to lay down the transfers. This way you could get the transfers down straight and then push it in, press it, and you're not burning your knuckles working under here. Same exact thing goes for when it's done. You slide it out, peel up the transfer, pull the t-shirt off. This slide out drawer right here is a game changer for myself. Ever since I found this heat press, and I'm talking about the Heat Press Nation Signature Series press, I have never looked back. Now, this model right here is the Signature Pro. This one comes with this little readout right here. This is called their Sure Pressure knob. This allows you to know what the pressure setting is, so you can write it down somewhere. I'll write it on my whiteboard right here, but you dial in your heavy pressure for a t-shirt, you write that number down. So then that way, if you're doing t-shirts and hoodies back to back and you're doing a lot of both, you could lay down a t-shirt and you know you need to be at 60 for the t-shirt for heavy pressure, boom. And then you come back, you gotta lay down a hoodie. You gotta adjust your pressure because a hoodie is thicker than a t-shirt. You go here, you spin it off to, let's say 48 or whatever your heavy pressure is for your hoodie, you write that number down. So when you're in production, you could go back and forth really fast without having to guess how much pressure for each one. You figure it out once, write it down, and then from there you just switch back and forth. So you could be like, all right, 48 for a hoodie. I'm on 48 now. I got to put a t-shirt back down. Let me crank this back down to 60. Boom, 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 knocking them down. Now you got to go back to a hoodie because you just got a hoodie order in. You could spin this back to 48 because you know what the heavy pressure is for a hoodie. Real quick, 48, now you're ready to press a hoodie. That's what this knob is for. It's not a universal knob where like every press is gonna be at 60 for heavy, every press is gonna be at 48 for a hoodie. No, this is just for your own visual reference. Whatever number's on here, that's what you write down and you save that number. Stick it on your press, put it on your whiteboard, write it on a Post-it. The number that's on here is the number that you go based off of, not because anybody else on YouTube is going based off these numbers. You find the heaviest pressure for yourself based on this number right here. Now, how do you find heavy pressure? This is a question a lot of people always ask me. How do I know what's the heaviest pressure? This test works with any garment. So you lay the t-shirt down, crank this knob all the way till you can't close it. You'll feel the pressure, you won't be able to close it. Back it off a turn, try to close it. Back it off another turn, close it. Once it clamps shut, that's your heavy pressure for a t-shirt. Now, do the same exact thing with a hoodie. Lay down a hoodie, crank this all the way down. You can't close it down, back it off a turn. Can't close it, back it off a turn. Can't close it, back it off a turn until you get a solid clamp. Now you have heavy pressure for your hoodie. Remember, write the number down that says on here. Now you know, hoodie, this is what my pressure is. T-shirt, that's what my pressure is. Hopefully that helps you guys out. Just a quick little tip. All right, here goes my Heat Press Nation True Spec heat press. This heat press right here is a 16 by 20. The one I showed you before was a 15 by 15. 16 by 20 is good for really big transfers. A lot of you guys see this design right here. This is my big 4 fingers up, 2 twisted in the middle design. This is on a Supacolor transfer. This right here measures at 11.7 by 16.5. Can I press this design with my 15 by 15? Yes, I can. Is it easier to do with the 16 by 20? Yes, it is. This press right here, same exact thing. Slide out drawer, not working underneath the heat. I can lay these transfers down nice and smooth, but the beauty in this press right here, the Heat Press Nation True Spec, is these bottom platens are interchangeable. So pull this one off. Let's say you wanted to do some neck hits. You put this one down, slide that one in, lock it in place. Now you can lay down your neck labels with the same heat press that you were just pressing t-shirts. Boom, comes up, neck label done. All right, now let's say you didn't want to do no more neck labels. You pull this one off, and let's say you wanted to do some pants or maybe some sleeve hits. Slide this one on. Now you can slide sleeves on, you can slide his pant legs on and start pressing those up using this. So the beauty in this heat press right here is all the bottom platens are interchangeable. Now this one right here is my Heat Press Nation Signature Pro heat press. Just like the one down at the end, that one's a 15 by 15, this one's a 16 by 20. I have 2 16 by 20 presses here in the shop. Once again, this is the one with the shirt pressure knob, auto open feature, slide out bottom platen. This one also has the threadable base, so then that way you could thread hoodies on, t-shirts on, whatever you wanted to do, but it has the base to thread your t-shirts on. But what I really want to show you is this right here. You've probably seen this on all my heat presses. Like, man, why does he have these things on here? These right here are non-stick covers. These are Teflon sheets, non-stick covers, whatever you want to call them. That's what this is. It's held on by magnets. I choose to use the metal refrigerator magnets to hold these on. I also use little clips that you clip onto the side. This is a bigger one, so you want to buy your non-stick cover a little bit bigger than your heat press, so that way you could fold it up and then you place the magnets on to hold it in place. Why do I have this? A lot of people think it's for like scorching shirts and stuff like that. Not what I use it for. Anytime that you use film transfers, this is what you would consider a film transfer. This right here, this is film. Depending on the humidity in your workspace, this film creates a lot of static when you're heat pressing something. So if I didn't have this right here, the film mixed with the heat, mixed with the humidity in the room and the metal on the bottom, it starts to create static where this would get stuck to the top. Why is that a bad thing? Anytime that you're pressing transfers, you want to be able to release this transfer on your own with a nice smooth peel. If it's getting stuck to this, that means the transfer is adhering to the t-shirt, and then the t-shirt's getting picked up after it's been pressed because the transfer's stuck to the top. And then you got to try to scrape this thing off. That's probably the worst way to do things. So all the static that's within the room gets buffered out by this thing. So that way, when I press this down, it's not going to cling to the top due to the static, because this is acting as a buffer between the metal and the actual film. So that's what I use these for. That's why I have it on all of my presses down here, is because the static, whenever you're using film transfers, can result into really bad presses, meaning that the t-shirt could get skewed, you won't get a good release. Everything when you're using these types of transfers all depends on how you peel the backing off. You don't want to have to scrape the backing off the top. You don't want your t-shirt getting stuck to the top. You want the t-shirt to stay down here. You want the transfer down here so you could peel this up. Now, this is only for film transfers. Any paperback transfers, like if you get screen printed transfers that are onto transfer paper that aren't see-through, it's on actual paper, you don't need this. I only use this for film transfers. I don't use it for HTV. I only use it for film transfers. So that's like your DTF transfers, like Supacolor wearable transfers, usually like delicate fabric transfers, like the ones that are made for nylon and stuff like that, are on film also. Anything with a clear backing is what I use these for. All right, hopefully some of this information right here helped you out. These are the presses that I use. These are the things you want to look for if you're into the things that I'm into, like this slide out drawer. This for myself makes life a lot easier, not having to work directly under the heat, especially when it comes to laying transfers down straight. You get a good bird's eye view of doing it this way. Press it in, you're not burning your fingers, and you want to make sure that your heat press has good, even pressure. The True Spec has its own pressure system. The Signature Pro has the Sure pressure knob. Now, let's say you don't have any of these things. You don't have a Sure pressure knob. You don't have the True Spec pressure system. You just have a standard heat press that has the knob. How do you figure out the best pressure for your hoodies and your t-shirts? Let me give you a little bit of a tip. You're going to want to get yourself some Sharpies. These aren't Sharpies right here, but you want 2 different color markers. I choose Sharpies because they're permanent, but this is how I would use them. We're going to use my True Spec heat press as the example. Now, this has its own pressure system, so you would never need to do this with this press. But for the people that just have the knob with exposed threads, that have no pressure system on how to gauge what's heavy, what's medium, what's light pressure, this is what you would do. You would crank this thing all the way down, all the way till you max it out. Put a t-shirt down, you're not gonna be able to close it shut, back it off a turn. Press it down. When you get a solid clamp, you're gonna take one of your markers and you're gonna mark the bottom thread that you can see with the marker all the way around, right? So you're gonna turn this bottom thread red all the way around. Take the t-shirt off. Now you're gonna put a hoodie down because of the thickness. Put the hoodie down. Can't get a solid press, back it off a turn. Can't get a solid press, back it off a turn. Now you could actually clamp it down with the hoodie. You're gonna take your other marker and you're gonna mark that thread. So now you know this is what you're gonna do. You're gonna be on the red thread for t-shirts, that's heavy pressure. And now you're gonna be on the black thread for heavy pressure with hoodies. This is how you would mark this so you understand, all right, I know where to back this off. Every month or so, you're gonna have to retouch the markers, because if you keep twisting it back and forth, it's gonna wear out. So every, like I would say 3 weeks to a month, just take your marker, remark it on both. You don't have to do the test because you'll still see the mark, and just keep the marker visible for yourself. That's how you can know the difference between heavy pressure on a heat press that doesn't have some sort of gauge to show you what your pressure is like. You just mark it with markers after you do your test. All right, we talked about a bunch of different things regarding heat presses, why I use these little non-stick covers, features that I like. This right here, the auto open feature. All of these heat presses are all auto open. Is that thing needed? No, it's not needed. Is it a nice to have? Yes, it is, especially when you're in production. If I'm running both of these, I could lay down a t-shirt, crank this one down, move over here, start working on this one, crank this one down. This one pops up on its own, slide this out, pull the transfer, boom, I'm back in action. So for production wise, having the auto open feature helps. It's a very good, nice to have thing. Is it needed? No, but I personally love that thing. And this True Spec right here has a really good smooth auto open feature. The other good thing about Heat Press Nation heat presses is they offer these bottom platen base covers. This right here helps the t-shirt slide on and off pretty easy, but it also grips the t-shirt just enough so it's not sliding around and all slick. I like the cotton ones, like the ones that Heat Press Nation offers. Have it here, I have it here. That to me is something I've come accustomed to with sliding t-shirts on and off of these presses. I like it. When you don't have it, you're working directly on the rubber. That rubber is really grippy and it's hard to make micro adjustments to your t-shirts to make sure your t-shirt's nice and straight. So I like these ones right here. Heat Press Nation offers them for their heat presses. Highly recommend checking them out if you do decide to go with a Heat Press Nation press. Now, are all of these presses right here the only presses on the market? No, they're not. There's tons of different heat presses out there. I choose to go with the companies that actually back their machines. Heat Press Nation has really dope customer service. They carry spare parts for all of their heat presses that they offer. So if something went down, if a button went out, if a light went out, if you're having some sort of issue, you could hit them up, troubleshoot it, and they have the extra part for you. Now, the good thing about Heat Press Nation is I haven't had issues with any of these heat presses. This one right here, I've had since I got onto YouTube. You know, I've been rocking with the Signature series way before I even got onto YouTube, and it's still fully functioning here in this shop. I've put tens of thousands of t-shirts through these presses right here with no issues whatsoever. Now, I don't say that to try to sell you on it. I'm saying that because I feel confident in the equipment that I use. If you are building a business around a heat press, this basically is the cornerstone of your business. You don't have to get the biggest, baddest, most expensive press out there. You can always upgrade later. So buy a heat press that fits your budget. Don't break the bank on the heat press. Don't go into debt around the heat press. But if you are buying, please buy into a company that actually backs their press. There's been so many people that hit me up and be like, hey, I bought this heat press on Amazon and the heating's all messed up. Hey, I bought this press off of Amazon and the timer doesn't work. I'm having a hard time getting into contact with customer service. And basically you get what you pay for. But there's nothing wrong with those presses. They do the job. They don't have all the bells and whistles, but it'll get the job done. Like I said, make a little bit of money with that press, save up, and then upgrade to something like this, which also doesn't break the bank, but now you're buying into something a little bit more reliable. That's probably the biggest thing I could tell you is when you're buying a heat press and you're basing your business around the heat press, you want a reliable machine. This is what I use to make all of my t-shirts that I sell in my retail store, on my online store. This is the equipment that I choose to use because it's foolproof. It works. These things are workhorses, and the track record speaks for itself. Because if it didn't work, I wouldn't be using these things no more, you know what I mean? So I'll leave the links to everything down below if you wanted to check it out for yourself. Like I said, you don't have to buy through that link, but do a little bit of research. Read up on these things, read some reviews, check other people's reviews on YouTube. Do everything you need to do for yourself to make an educated decision when it's time to purchase a piece of equipment. Don't just go based off of, hey, this guy on YouTube said I need to buy this, so I need to buy this. No, look at every single press out there. Look at what fits your budget. Look at the functions that matter to you and go based off of what you can afford. Like I said, do not go broke trying to get rich. Don't go into debt trying to buy the biggest, baddest machine. It's not worth it. People on YouTube are going to say, you need to buy this, you need to buy that. They're trying to get your money. Don't go based off of that. Do your own research, figure this stuff out. I shared the information about my presses, what I like about them, why I choose to use them. Now it's time for you to do a little bit more research. If you wanted to, you could check out the links in the description box, or you could just go to Heat Press Nation and then look at all the presses they offer. Everything from the M Press to the Black Series to whatever else they offer on that website. See what works for you. Now, if you have any questions about anything I spoke about in this video, make sure you leave it in the comments for me. This is how I make future videos, and this is how I see what you guys want to see and what you guys want to know about faster and quicker than a DM or an email or private message, what have you. Comments is where it's at. You can follow me on Instagram if you wanted to, Big Brando TV. We could get it cracking in the comments over there also. All right, catch you guys on the next one, man. Yeah.